What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast number 400. We are on the 400th episode. Round of applause, man. That is fucking crazy. That is a lot of episodes. And, man, just reflecting it. It started in end of 2020, basically, during the COVID year. And I know a lot of people started podcasts at that time. I wanted to start one earlier, but there was a company that I was signed to that didn't want to put the money up. They were basically robbing me, taking 20% of my revenue from YouTube, and they weren't doing anything. It's back when I was very, very new to YouTube in terms of like deals and stuff like that. The contract read that it was good, because I had my lawyer look over it. But, all the money they took from me, it would have cost me a lot of money to then sue and do all this stuff. And I just wanted out of the contract. And the reason why I mentioned this is because at the time, I remember I was in the contract till I believe beginning of 2019, like sometime in April 2019 is when I officially left. And before I left, I ended up asking them, I was like, hey, since you guys haven't done like shit for me, literally shit for me, can you guys like give me some money to invest in a podcast? Because I want to do a podcast. And can you guys buy the mics? Can you guys buy the cameras for me? That's the least they could do, because they made, in those 3 years, I think I was signed with them. I signed in 2017. Yeah, so 3 years. They made like easily, I don't want to say exact number, but they damn near touched six figures, I think. Probably made six figures. It's a great amount of money for doing basically nothing. They did nothing. Like literally the first month I signed with them, they helped me structure some things on the channel, and that's it. Other than that, they've never got me a sponsorship deal. They never did anything, man. They just took my money. And I was recently working with somebody who has a YouTube channel, and they were signed to them for not that specific company that I was signed to, but they were signed to a company they were signed to them since May of 2015. And I just got him out of the contract literally last month, which is crazy. So that guy's been getting robbed for 11 years and just didn't even know it. So this was back in the days when MCN multi-channel networks were running things, and they basically tricked me, man. They had Logan Paul on there. They had all these people that were saying that, hey, they're assigned to our company, and we can sign you, we can get you all these deals. And they never ended up doing shit. They never got me that podcast equipment. So I said, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And that's the birth of Diverse Mentality Podcast. It took me about a year and a half to gather the money. But yeah, end of 2020, I had invested roughly probably $30,000 into the podcast, maybe even 40. Now that's overkill, right? You don't need that much money to do a podcast. The reason why I invested that much money is because there was going to be a co-host, which is my brother. We need a camera for him when he's talking. We need a mic for him when he's talking. And then if there's two people at once, you need at least two mics. So I ended up buying two mics, which I could have bought one and had three just at that time, and it would have been perfectly fine. But here we are in 2026. It's just one mic that I need, two cameras. So I overkill. Even this table, I was thinking I was going to have a bunch of guests, and they would sit across from me, have a nice space. This table is overkill. I don't need this huge-ass table. I mean, it's long as fuck. So, yeah, I did overkill, man. I bought that big-ass logo, which I still have at the office, at my brother's office now. So I'm going to be using that for like artist interviews that I bring here in Atlanta, that like interview with me here in Atlanta. I think that would be dope to use that still. So I'll still be using that, but that was overkill. That was another like $4 or $5 grand I just spent just to, I guess, make it look cool. I don't know. At the time I had some decent amount of money, so I was like, fuck it. Let me just go all in. Let me put all the money that I want to put. So then I don't sit there and be like, I didn't do this. I didn't, like to me, it was just like, let's get this done one time. Let's pay what we have to pay, and let's be done with it. And then every year I was in the red on the podcast, every single year, because I was paying rent, paying an editor, all this stuff, always in the red. And then I think in 2023, was it, where I finally was in the green and made money off the podcast. So it took roughly 3 years of doing the podcast to finally make money from the podcast. And ever since then, we've been in the green, which is great. More than, I'm thankful for all of you that have always been watching, supporting. I would have liked the full episodes to get more views. I think that's where I'm lacking at, but that takes a lot more time and more promotion and just doing the right steps. And that needs to be more invested in where, more of the full podcast episodes are getting pushed more. And that's going to take a little time. That's going to take more of like the audio, because usually what happens is for podcasts, I could be wrong, but for the most part, people listen to them instead of watch them. Because I notice my audio numbers are, slowly growing versus the YouTube video podcast numbers pretty stagnant. It hasn't really increased. But overall, I'm happy with it, man. I'm happy with the community that is built here. I'm happy with, just being able to talk about whatever's going on in my life, or just talk about, the news and stuff like that, or what's going on in the world of hip hop and even other things that I touch on here and there. So yeah, man, cheers to you guys. 400 episode. This is the 400th one. And as I promised, I will be ranking 50 Cent's albums. The only thing I won't be doing is ranking 50 Cent's mixtapes. I will save that for the next episode because, to be honest with you, he's got more mixtapes than albums. So, I was like, let me just listen to the mixtapes a little bit more so I can get a better gauge. With the albums, he's got 5 albums. And to be honest with you guys, I only go back and forth with 2 positions of where these albums should be. And we'll talk about that, at the end of the podcast when I rank his 5 studio albums. That's it. That's all he has is 5 studio albums. You know what? Fuck it. I'll put in Power of the Dollar. So 6 studio albums, including Power of the Dollar. So I'll add that in. I'm just making that decision right now. So Power of the Dollar, I know where that ranks in my rankings of albums. So yeah, we'll rank that at the end of the episode. There's a lot to talk about, man. Pooh Shiesty is locked up again because he is a moron. His dad is locked up. Big 30 and whoever else is around. Pooh Shiesty is locked up now again because the reports of him putting a gun towards Gucci's face to be released from his contract and robbing him is true. So we're going to go over that. We're going to break that down. And then there's other news and updates that's happened fairly recently. And we're going to start things out with the Diddler. I guess this is good news for Diddy. He is having his release date pushed forward. Not forward, but backwards. I don't know. It's moving up, meaning he's getting out a little bit earlier again. His date has moved up again. So let's go over this. Diddy will be getting out of prison slightly earlier than expected, with his release date shifted up 10 days to April 15th, 2028, as seen on the Federal Bureau of Prisons website. It's the second time this has happened for the bad boy mogul, with the previous change taking more than a month off his sentence. Diddy was convicted in 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution last summer. He is serving out his sentence at Fort Dix in New Jersey, a facility he specifically requested for its drug rehabilitation programs. The update comes as Diddy is currently working on his appeal case, which he announced back in December. His legal team says that his sentence fails to consider that the sexual activity referenced in his case was consensual and that prosecutors were unable to convict Diddy on the most serious offenses. Arguing against his appeal, prosecutors wrote, according to Combs, the district court should have closed its eyes to how he carried out his Mann Act offenses and abused his victims, violently beating them, threatening them, lying to them, and plying them with drugs. Supplying them with drugs. In a filing on March 13th, Diddy's lawyers described his sentence as a perversion of justice, arguing for immediate release and a judgment of acquittal, or at least vacate and remand the resentencing. They'll present their full argument on April 9th, which is very soon here. So we will see if what they're looking for in terms of getting him released right now will actually be granted if the appeal is there. Because they appeal it, then I think when you appeal it, you go to trial again, or I think it just gets overturned, or I don't know. I fucking forget with these court cases sometimes, but I get everything jumbled up into one. So yeah, if they appeal it, I'm pretty sure it will help him, obviously. And he might get out way earlier, maybe this year, which I can see that happening, man. Diddy is, people of this magnitude of power, he's not going to serve 2028. He's going to get out unless he does something in prison that's bad, but he's going to get out earlier than that. He'll probably get out in 2027, so next year. That's probably the best case scenario. I don't know, it could potentially get out this year if they do the appeal and everything goes good. Then yeah, he's out this year and it's over with. So, the Diddler will be out touching people and, doing his Diddler things. So we'll see what happens. Jay-Z got major help in his lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. So if you guys don't know, Tony Buzbee was the lawyer at least, that accused Jay-Z and Diddy of rape. So let's go over this. Jay-Z's second attempt to sue Tony Buzbee for defamation and extortion is getting a major lift thanks to the Alabama judge, Terry Moorer. His case is not going anywhere. The later attempted to have this suit tossed in June 2025 over what he saw as jurisdictional issues. Jay sent this into Alabama, where the woman who anonymously accused him of rape lives. Buzbee tried to argue that there was zero connection there. Instead, he felt it should have been dealt with in New York. That's where Jane Doe had claimed her alleged assault took place. On top of the lawsuit staying alive, it's now going to New York. While this doesn't signal that Jay-Z is going to win this case for sure, it does present opportunities to lead to a victory. Tony Buzbee responded, by the way. The case was filed against me in Alabama because they thought the law was more favorable there. It got kicked out of Alabama, meaning it got kicked out of the state. They wanted it where they thought they had a legal advantage. And you call that a loss for me? You aren't very smart. Reading cures ignorance. Try it. Amen. So he feels very confident that, his lawsuit is valid. Potentially the Jane Doe whose name is in this suit against Buzbee may have to reveal her identity going forward. Legal documents caught by Complex highlight that in the interest of justice by separate order, the case will be transferred to the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. The motions to dismiss filed by all defendants and the motions to proceed using a acidum remain pending for resolution by the gaining court. And Jay-Z addressed it in that one interview where he felt horrible, or he said his whole year was ruined. So, if you were accused of rape and you didn't do it, and eventually the lawsuit got dropped, and if you're at a status of a Jay-Z, a billionaire, why wouldn't you sue the lawyer then and pursue damages, for defamation, all that stuff? That's what I would do. So to me, it seems like Jay-Z is like, this shit is not real, and he's very confident that it's not real, and he's pursuing the lawyer for accusing him of these heinous things. So we'll see what happens, but that's a great move for Jay-Z. It's a good look on his eyes, and on his side of the team, it's gonna help a lot. So I'm all for Jay-Z, winning this. I'm all for this. I want more of celebrities or whoever has the financial means to fight back, because this is bullshit. If I'm getting accused for something and it clearly gets dropped, like my name has already been dragged through the mud in the public eye. Because people don't keep up to date with this. This podcast is where you're going to get up to date with this stuff. Other than that, people just see a headline and it is what it is. They just move on. Because the good news, let's just say the news of the lawsuit getting dropped didn't spread as much as the initial lawsuit of getting accused of rape. The negative news spreads way wider, way faster. The positive news doesn't get that same treatment. And even if it does, people don't really engage with it. People don't really care. People just like negativity more online. I mean, man, I've talked to some random people just hating online. It's crazy, man. I commented on something on one of 50's pages, and one guy responded, you're always dick riding 50, this and that. And I was like, I don't know what we said back and forth, but he was like, man, 50 don't even know you and this and that, right? And I had sent him the clip that 50 posted of me on the podcast. He's like, so what? He still don't know you? Like, that ain't nothing. I'm like, dude, that's my face. Like, he might not know me personally. He might not know my, he knows Quake. I know that for a fact. I've already talked to, I'm not going to say shit, but anyways, he knows of me. He knows of my platform. He shared my platform. He knows me, Quake, the creator. So I was like, he knows me. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know why he was getting upset at me. It wasn't a comment supporting 52 in the comments. It was just like, I'm not going to say it because then I'm going to have to explain why. And it has to do with something that I'm working on right now behind the scenes. But he then responded and was like, oh, I'm just fucking with you, Quake. I love what you do, man. I look up to you and this and that. And, can you give me some tips on how to create content? And I was like, why go about it this way, man? Just DM me. Like, I respond to people in the DMs. Just show respect. I'm not looking for negativity, and people just like negative. And then when I look at their profile, they're following me. They're just looking for something to say towards me to get me upset, which it never does. Honestly, the online shit, I am like, I could care two fucks about. I usually respond to it when I'm bored, like waiting for something. Like I got into a back and forth with this fake rapper guy who thinks he's signed to Rock Nation. He has a distribution deal with Rock Nation, which anybody can get. Literally, you, me, anybody. And yeah, like I was just entertaining that because I was doing my taxes. I was bored for like 2-3 hours. So I was like, fuck it, let me just go back and forth with somebody and troll. Like this type of shit online doesn't matter to me, man. What people say, none of this shit should matter to anybody. Like if you're looking to do content creation, just who gives a fuck, bro, what people say. People are going to talk shit whether you're doing good or bad. But it's just funny when I respond to these people, then they say, oh, I'm a fan, I'm this and that, and they just, and then, it's like, why go about it that way, man? Just show love, hit me up with a DM and say, hey, man, I fuck with your content. Can you give me some advice? I'm trying to get my channel going, or I'm trying to, and I would help you, bro. I'm not the type of person to gatekeep and be an asshole about situations. Now, I can't respond to everything, right? There's only so much that I can respond to. I'm one person. I try to, and I don't manage my social medias 100%. Now that I have a full-time person, really, it's going to be, unless it's on my Quake profile, like my personal profile. Other than that, anything you see on diverse mentality pages, it's probably going to be 90% not me. More before it was like 60-40 where I was actually carrying more of the load for this past year and a half. But now it's literally 90-10. It'll probably be 10% of me posting, if that. So when you're reaching out to me and I don't respond the first time, don't reach out to me on the diverse mentality pages. First, find my personal page. Send me a DM there. And if I don't respond, do it again. Just don't do it. Like send one and then wait 2-3 days, send another one. And don't make it too long. I'm telling you guys. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. But don't make any message that you're trying to reach out to somebody for advice or anything too long, because people don't have time to read that. Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm not sitting here trying to read your whole life story, basically. Just send me a DM, say, hey, bro, like, I need some advice on how to do this YouTube thing, or I need this. And I usually 9 times out of 10 respond. If I don't take it the hard way. Don't take it like, personally. I'll respond when I get to it. Send me another message, be consistent, and I'll respond. So I say all that to say, like, the internet is just filled with negativity, and then with this Jay-Z thing, it's the negative spreads a lot further than the positive. But yeah, another thing with that thing, by the way, that I was talking about the comments and stuff. One person was like, oh, you're always supporting 50, this and that. And I was like, dude, if you go watch like one of my most recent videos on my main YouTube channel, it's about the 50 Young Buck beef. And what did I say in that? I said 50's corny for constantly going at Buck when Buck doesn't even bother him. I said this. Like, I disagree with 50 on quite a few things. It's not like I responded with that comment. I said, how are you going to like tell me what I say? Like, I know what I say because I'm the person saying it. So I know better than everybody what I say and what I don't say. So that's the funny part in this, is like people will literally tell you what you said and what you haven't said. The only people that can like 100% say that is the people that watch every podcast episode. And sometimes they get clowned on, by people by flipping back and forth because I'm a human being. I'm not going to, like if I have an opinion 3 years ago, it's going to change maybe, in the next 3 years. I don't know. Maybe J. Cole's the fall off. The album's not the greatest of all time. I might end up liking it 3 years later. And it might be a classic to me, So that's the thing. It's like, you can't hold me to like opinions too all the time. But yeah, like people throw that at me and they're like, oh, they're this and that. And I'm like, dude, I literally went against 50 on quite a few things. Now, is he my favorite? Like if it was 50 versus T.I., I love T.I. He's in my top 10 of all time. If it was 50 versus T.I., I'm going to side with 50. That's just my favorite rapper. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have a favorite. If you're going to side with T.I. over 50, clearly T.I. is more of your favorite. And there's nothing wrong with that. But T.I. is in my top 10 of all time. And I'm glad he's having a resurgence in his music career, because right now it's actually, I think it's his longest running #1 on urban radio since like his 2008 hit, Whatever You Like, which is crazy. That's a great achievement, accomplishment. So I'm happy for T.I. There's nothing that like, just because I'm siding with 50 doesn't automatically mean like I fucking hate T.I. Like, no, I got every single album he's ever made on my phone. I list his catalog, and I still need to rank his albums as well. That's another thing I want to do. But yeah, I'll say all that to say negativity thrives on the internet. That's what I basically get into the point of, after running in circles with all this stuff. But yeah, great news for Jay-Z, and hopefully he actually fights this and wins. Cops have swarmed Nicki Minaj's LA home to arrest a trespasser. This is eerily almost similar to Rihanna's situation that happened recently, but obviously with the Rihanna situation, there was actually shootings that happened. So let's go over this article. Nicki Minaj joins Rihanna as both ladies to have dealt with scary trespassing incidences. Thankfully, though, Nicki wasn't home for hers. LA area cops were thankfully able to make a speedy arrest at Nicki Minaj's home yesterday morning. The reason they were called there was because a man was trespassing on her property. He was caught on her security cameras wandering around the superstar's backyard. Law enforcement tells TMZ that the trespasser was a white male who had a red beard, long hair, and wore a gray tracksuit. The reason why he was able to be taken into custody in quick succession is because of Minaj's security. According to the neighborhood talk, the man, 36-year-old named Leland Adams, refused to leave once he was cornered. Yeah, he looks like just crazy. The Starship's team was then able to detain him until deputies arrived at the household. The outlet also reports that Adams was reportedly arrested 5 days before this incident, but was released shortly after. In addition, there are rumblings that Adams may have a prior run-ins with law enforcement in other states, but that's not official yet, as police are still performing a robust background check as of yesterday. This might have been just somebody that saw a nice house and wanted to do something to it. As it stands, Adams' motive for trespassing on Nicki Minaj's property is not known. He's being held without bond, and there's a good chance he eventually goes to prison for a longer period of time. The silver lining in all this, though, is that Nicki wasn't home during her incident. This is now the second time something like this has happened to a celebrity within the last month. Rihanna wasn't as fortunate, as her case involved a woman allegedly firing bullets at her home while she and many others were inside. Yeah, that was a lot more serious. I mean, this could have turned serious, but from the looks of it, man, this person is just probably homeless and just saw a nice house and was trying to, do what he can to probably steal something from the house. That's the way I'm looking at it. But as, details emerge as time goes on, we'll see what comes out of this. The motherfucking game. So he randomly went on Instagram and posted this on his story. He said, "To the guys, ninjas," he used emoji, "that just shot at my truck, I hope your homie bleed out on the way to the hospital, bitch." This was weird. So let's go over what could possibly have happened. Compton, California rapper The Game is claiming that he was involved in a shooting recently. As caught by No Jumper, the veteran took to his Instagram story to share the news. Unfortunately, that's the only concrete detail that we have. It's worth noting that The Game, real name Jason Terrell Taylor, deleted this post a short while ago. Reading into this, wondering of his claim, though, we wonder if Game fired back at his alleged assailants, or it could be that his security was involved and retaliated. We don't know exactly when and where this occurred either. Hopefully the Game isn't hurt and everything is back to normal. If this did occur in his hometown of Compton, though, it wouldn't be surprising, as it's one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. Right now, we are sending our best to the 100 rapper, even though we don't have a lot to go off of. Yeah, I mean, not much news like in terms of details on this, because Game could be capping, man. He's one of those people that you don't know what to expect on his Instagram page. He's out here scamming like Christian singers, which is crazy. They just came out. So if I was interviewing The Game, man, I would tell him, why are you having random people run your page and do all these scams? Like, that needs to be asked in these interviews. It's a damn shame Game is doing these interviews and nobody is asking him about this. Like, that's a bad look for you, man. That ruins your brand. That ruins your name. And it's already been ruined just through all the years of bullshit with having issues with Dr. Dre and destroying that relationship, to 50, to Eminem going at him, to all the corny back and forths and all the lies and stories that you told that people don't believe and all this stuff. I wish Game never got involved in a lot of this stuff, man, because he would have been in a way better position in life. And then you got that lawsuit that's looming over your head that you owe that lady, that girl, like, I don't know, $10 million. I forget what the amount is. So it makes sense why he's like scamming online, because bills come, man. Bills don't stop. So we'll see what happens. Maybe there's some details that come out of this, but I don't know why Game would post this and then delete it. Like, just don't even talk about the situation if it happened. But yeah, Game's got to be careful, man. Going out in the streets like that and being in an area like that with the name that he has, got to be careful. So we'll see what happens moving forward. This was interesting. So Charlamagne on his podcast, I think The Brilliant Idiots with Andrew Schultz, talked about Meek Mill, and he said Meek Mill never really recovered after his battle with Drake. So let's watch this.
Damn.
I'm just saying, like, Meek could have just kept doing music, but for some reason he didn't. Like, something was just off after the battle. You know what I mean? And he really, I mean, honestly, he didn't really
He never recovered.
Yeah, it's strange.
Maybe he made a lot of money, though.
He kind of recovered when he got with Nicki, and then it fell off again.
No, they broke up right after that.
I know, but he was like having songs out and everything.
You know what it was with Meek, man? Meek's Achilles heel to me was actually Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
And when Drake called him Twitter fingers, no, what did he say? What was it? Was it Twitter fingers?
Yeah,
right?
Twitter fingers.
When he called him Twitter fingers,
Trigger finger turned to Twitter fingers.
Trigger fingers turned to Twitter fingers, and it's just like every time Meek tweets, even
It's
now
crazy,
to
bro.
this day,
It's crazy. It's pure
and
entertainment.
I fuck with Meek. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
I think Meek does a lot for his community. You know, he's been a great, symbol for the city of Philly. I love what he does with reform.
Okay, so the part that I agree with Charlamagne here is the Twitter part, right? Twitter has kind of ruined Meek Mill's aura because he says and does a lot of stupid things on Twitter that just make no damn sense, right? So that part I agree with, but to say that Meek Mill didn't have a music career after the Drake beef is asinine. It's crazy. And Meek Mill responded to this. He actually posted the video and he wrote a lot. He said this. I'm gonna try to go through this as quickly as possible. So I want to make this a main post to highlight the real propaganda that's taking place in the hip-hop community. I need everyone to leave a comment if you see what's happening and how they are trying to downgrade artist brands from feeding their families. Let's go through it. The white comedian also boosted didn't rumor on his major platform with no evidence, then asked me to go on his show. Can y'all see my, he just, since Drake beef, I dropped 3 times platinum. Peta dropped double platinum, Blue Notes 1, 2 platinum, Uptown Vibes, Legend, Brooklyn Fab platinum. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Scarface with Rick Ross, Gold, Independent Money. Basically, he says all this shit, right? 1942 Flows, platinum, whatever you need from me, platinum with Chris Brown, check platinum championships, intro, platinum, we ball, etc. What the fuck is he talking about? We got to keep a close eye on this cat. I feel like he's in the closet gay man, and he hates successful black men unless he's doing biz with them, but they promoted him gay. Bunch of shit. So Meek Mill has this like tangent that he goes on, right? So now let me go to what, after Meek Mill wrote all that stuff, Charlamagne responded on Breakfast Club. So let's play this.
10 years ago, that was a great project.
But he dropped a snippet.
4-pack last year. He put out a 4-pack.
That was the remember the Heathens one. That's what I'm talking about.
That's
and it was great. But I feel like people didn't really talk about it at the time.
Just proofread the tweet, yo. That's all you got to do before you just press and submit.
It's
like, just proofread the tweet.
It's like anything you do. Because
sometimes I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, you don't understand, but it's funny. It's not like, oh, you're a retard. Like, you're just funny, yo.
That's why I said he shouldn't tweet and he should just talk through the music. And as he just said, they put gay on Meek. That's what I'm saying.
They definitely was sprinkling gay up and down.
He mentioned that. He said that Diddy situation was like that. That was crazy. That wasn't right.
And that's why I'm not even mad. He said I'm DL in that post because that's just projection.
You're not DL. You came out.
Shut up.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
I mean, well, he's not, but I'm just saying.
He'd be hurt by what people say about him, so he's putting that on me. But I do agree with Meek. The propaganda against him is strange.
Yes, it's horrible.
And it started with that battle.
I get what they're saying. Like, Meek Mill just goes on social media, types random things on Twitter. It's hard to decipher what he's even saying sometimes. And, he's the butt of the joke on the internet. Every time he gets on the internet and says something, everybody laughs at him because it just never makes sense. It's hard to decipher what he's writing. So I get that part of it, but to say that he hasn't, had success musically after the Drake beef, and that's what Charlamagne essentially said. He said he didn't say that, but that's what he essentially said, is crazy because to me, the last physical CD I bought in stores was Meek Mill's Wins and Losses because I just loved like 1942 Flows. I love the title track. I love We Ball with Young Thug. He just dropped a great album after that whole situation with Drake. So let me go over the actual catalog. So yeah, after the Drake beef, he dropped Wins and Losses. That was his next album. Fucking amazing album. Then he dropped Championships, another album that did really, really well for him. Did I really enjoy that album? Yeah, kind of, but it was all right. And then Expensive Pain, which was a couple of years later. So it took him about another 3 years to drop that album. So yeah, he's been taking a lot more breaks in between when it comes to the music. But he's dropped dope verses here and there, and then he'll drop EPs or mixtapes in between, and that's really about it. So I can kind of get where Charlamagne's coming from, that he should have been more consistent with the music and staying like about the music and getting off of social media. But to say that he hasn't had like that Drake destroyed his career and that it was over after that is ridiculous. He's had massive success still after that. But yeah, the online social media stuff, I agree. He should just stay off that because it doesn't help him at all. And it's hard to decipher what he says most of the time. But that's my take on it. I think Meek Mill kind of took it the right way and the wrong way. I think he should have proved it by writing a proper response, and he already proved it with the music that he can do it. So that's my take on it. Let's go over what's happened with Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane and the whole robbery situation. I'm going to get into how this even started from the jump, and then all the details that's surrounding it, all the documents the DOJ released, and what we can expect moving forward. This whole story of Pooh Shiesty allegedly robbing Gucci Mane for, all that he's got in his studio, as well as trying to get out of his contract, has been rumored for a while now. This is nothing new in terms of rumors, but there was no official facts. Nobody was officially arrested. Nobody really said anything. It was just some blogs reporting that this potentially probably happened. And now we got official confirmation from the actual FBI, and Pooh Shiesty, his father, and a few other people around him have been arrested. On April 1st, ironically, on April Fool's Day, it was revealed that Pooh Shiesty, his father, and a few other people have been arrested by the FBI, and that their house had been raided by the FBI. And after that, there really wasn't much talk. People were like, okay, what's going on? And then the following day, on April 2nd, is when we started to get details, when the DOJ, the FBI started releasing documents, paperwork, photos, revealing that Pooh Shiesty had gone to Gucci Mane's studio, robbed him, the people around him, and threatened Gucci and said, hey, get us out of this contract, sign these papers, and let's move forward. So I've broken down basically all the stuff that the DOJ documents have said, and this is the timeline of things. Pooh Shiesty was released in October of 2025, and by January 10th, 2026, he already got involved in something that sent him right back to jail. And on that date is when he arrived in Gucci Mane's studio and did what he did. So let's go over each detail. The report on the document says when Gucci Mane and his team arrived at the studio, Pooh asked to speak with Gucci privately in a separate recording room. Pooh then produced a contract release form and demanded that Gucci sign it. When Guap refused, an argument ensued. Pooh then told Big 30 to grab a bag from which Pooh retrieved an AK-style rifle and pointed it at Gucci, prompting Gucci to comply. One of Pooh Shiesty's co-conspirators pulled out a cell phone and recorded Gucci signing the release form at gunpoint while being forced to say he released Pooh from his contract. Afterward, Pooh robbed Gucci Mane of his wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. Members of Gucci's crew were blocked from leaving the studio they were in and robbed of their valuables, which included a 1017 necklace. A man identified as MM was choked to the point of nearly losing consciousness during the robbery. At one point, Gucci Mane was pushed onto a couch, causing the victims to believe they were going to be executed. Pooh pointed the barrel of the gun at the back of the man identified as BP's head and ordered Gucci and crew to leave. Gucci Mane and other victims identified Pooh Shiesty and Big 30 to the authorities, with Pooh being described as wearing a black Nike brand Shiesty mask during the robbery. Pooh Shiesty and his co-defendants are facing up to life in prison if found guilty. So that's the gist of it, right? They went in there, blocked the entrances and stuff, and said, hey, Gucci, we want out of this contract. And Gucci said, no, it's not going to happen. Well, then they forced it with the guns. And what's crazy about this is Hernandez Govan was talking to academics, and he said that he basically saw the video footage of it, what happened. Gucci said to Pooh Shiesty, you still got to go through the lawyers, right, even after I sign this. He was basically telling Pooh Shiesty, like, this is not going to help you get out of the contract because we still got to discuss with lawyers about you leaving. And Pooh Shiesty didn't care. And allegedly, Hernandez says Pooh Shiesty responded to that, saying basically, shut your bitch ass up and sign. And the craziest thing out of all this is that Pooh Shiesty did this with an ankle monitor on him. So they tracked exactly where he's at, and they got all the details. This is probably the dumbest thing you can do because this is 2026, not the 1990s where Suge Knight was dangling Vanilla Ice off a balcony. You can't force anybody to release you out of a contract. One, recording it is a dumb thing because signing a contract under duress, which that is, a situation under duress, doesn't validate the signature at all. That's the first thing. The second thing is Gucci could have just signed, a bad signature and said, that's not my signature. That's the second thing. The third thing is they probably were betting on Gucci Mane not saying anything and just allowing it to happen. But it looks like Gucci has cooperated with the feds. And a lot of people have been having mixed feelings about that because, Gucci is a street guy himself, has done a lot of things in the streets, and even, killed one of Jeezy's guy that went to go and rob him. So Gucci's had a history of doing street stuff. So for him to cooperate with the feds, obviously is looked at bad, in terms of who he is as a person. But people are saying it was an off-duty police officer that was there, and that off-duty police officer had to report what happened because he's still, under oath on the law despite being off-duty. Now, we got to remember as well, other people were injured in this situation. Gucci Mane's camera guy had some injuries towards his neck and his wrist, and there's photos of that out there. Now, here are the documents that the DOJ released where it says that Gucci Mane actually cooperated. It says RD is Radrick Davis, who's actually Gucci Mane's real name, describes Williams Jr. as wearing a black Nike brand Shiesty mask, black hooded, black pants during their offense. So they're saying that Gucci himself described the person. BP, and RD, Radrick Davis, who's Gucci, all identify Wright, a well-known hip-hop artist, as Big 30 at present during the offense. and RD identified his Instagram page account as CEO Big 30, which is one of Pooh Shiesty's guys as well. So that's what the documents say. I'm sure the video footage is going to come out any moment now of the robbery actually happening. And the interesting thing about all this is that Gucci really did the smart thing. As much as people want to criticize him because he's a street guy, he shouldn't be snitching, he's at a different level in his life. For him to get revenge or to do anything that would risk his freedom and everything that he's got going on right now in his life, which is amazing. He's got a great record label. He's got a wife, kids, successful. He's free. He's a changed person. Anybody criticizing Gucci Mane and telling him to go towards more of a street route is stupid. And Pooh Shiesty's stupid as well, because doing all that with the ankle monitor just being released and you having a hit record and doing well, it's like you just want to go back to prison. It's like you just love that place for whatever reason. It's the dumbest decision that you could possibly make. If you signed a bad contract with Gucci and Gucci's not letting you out, fulfill that contract. It is what it is. You signed it. As a man, when you sign documents, you have to live up to your end, whether you like the terms or not. I've signed a bad contract in my life, and I had to live it out for those 3 years that I was signed to it. It is what it is. Stuff like that happens. And to try to force your way out of that situation, it just shows that you're not a man of your word. But what can I expect from Pooh Shiesty? This guy just loves going to prison for whatever reason. With that being said, Pooh Shiesty is out of here. He's going to get a lot of time for this because there's clear evidence he did this. All the people surrounding are going to get a lot of time as well. And it's over for him. Any type of freedom that he had, any type of momentum musically that he had, it's done. This guy's not going to see the light of day for 20, 30, potentially life in prison because he just got out off doing the same type of thing. So he's already lived his lyrics. So when people say, because I saw this online, people were saying, you guys like your gangster rappers to live their lyrics. Well, he already did that. He already robbed and shot at people and did all this. He's already proved that lyrics that he's done. So when he got out, he should have just kept it clean, man. And if you don't like the contract, just deal with it at that time. Do your music, drop your music, and move on. So one thing I want to say is shout out to Gucci for not falling for this trap, for not trying to retaliate. A lot of people are clowning him online for not doing anything, but hey, he doesn't have to, man. Doesn't have to at all. He's already proven himself in the history books of doing as gangsta stuff as you could ever do, which is kill somebody. At that point, there's nothing more gangsta than that. If you want to look at the gangsta image, which is overall just stupid in general, but Gucci did he's already had his history. He's already legend in a lot of people's eyes. So him trying to retaliate at the age of 40, 50 years old, very dumb. It would trick him out of his position and makes no sense. And shout out to Seti Nash. He says he saw the footage and apparently Gucci was looking at Pooh Shiesty's dad in disappointment. Like, why would you allow your son to do this? And really in that situation, as a father, you should still be able to control your son and tell him, hey, this is not the route to do things, despite your son making a lot of money, despite your son being famous. But this is the problem is when somebody young gets rich and famous, they think they are more authoritative than their parents. Their parents should always be the ones that could be able to say, hey, don't do this. And they should listen. But So it looks like the father was the one that didn't have a gun, according to Seti as well. He said that the father had no gun, so he's probably the one that's going to get the less sentence. He's probably going to skate from this a lot more, but he was still in the whole involvement despite not having a gun, despite being against it. So he's going to face some time. He should have just, maybe if there's audio of him saying, hey, to Pooh Shiesty, don't do this, maybe that will help his case. But overall, they're all going to get locked up. Pooh Shiesty's going to probably never get out again because he's been charged with these type of situations multiple times. And the judge is going to be like, you're not learning any lesson out of this. You have freedom, you got money, you got fame, you got hit records. Even when he got out, first day out was a hit record for him. Like, how are you messing this up still? It makes no sense to me. It will never make sense. But I think he just loves prison. I really don't. That's the only explanation I have for this. Any other explanation just makes no sense. But that's the gist of it. We'll see when the video footage comes out. What do you guys think of the situation? I think Gucci Mane played the best route possible that he could in this. That don't retaliate, just let things happen as they happen and let the courts and the law enforcement deal with it because he's in a whole different position in his life. Pooh Shiesty, he's a moron. Just simple as that. Moron, dumb thing to do. He's already proven his street credibility, all that stuff. He doesn't need to do this again. But yeah, that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Papoose, man. Papoose is back to talking on, interviews and talking about hit records, something that he doesn't know anything about. And this is the funniest conversation because it's on Vlad, and Vlad gives him the most softball questions and gives him really no pushback, or he just doesn't do any fact checking of what Papoose says. And it's just a funny conversation. Papoose stopped by Vlad TV and did an interview, of course, talking about 50 Cent because that's the only interesting thing that Papoose has in his career right now is the person he's dating, which is Clarissa Shields. Shout out to her. She's doing great with the boxing. And, him talking about 50 and making a diss record about 50. That's the only two things he's got going on right now. So, of course, Vlad asks him about the 50 Cent stuff. And he says something very funny in it because this is the last person to be talking about who had a hit record, who was the last person to have a hit, so on and so forth. So let's break down what Papoose said in this clip.
Okay, you pointed out that he said, I don't have a hit or whatever, right? Right? You brought that up. You mentioned that, right? Okay, yeah. So that gives me the right to respond to that comment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I gotta do it like this, Vlad, because nowadays this internet shit is weird. So they just make it seem like I'm saying what I'm about to say out of nowhere. I'm responding to this hating ass nigga, to what he said, right? Two things I want to say. When he said that, I said to myself, I said, damn, this nigga Ben fell off a long time ago. Why he talking about a hit record for? That was just my natural instinct kicking in, right? When he said it, I said, I know it's been a long time since this nigga been hot on a musical level. Let me see how long it was.
First, Papoose, your natural instinct is wrong. Please check it and make sure that you know what your natural instinct is saying because it's totally wrong.
So I did what people do nowadays, right? I Googled it. When was the last time 50 Cent had a hit record? Because he said it about me. I'm doing my fact check. It said 2005. Vlad, it's 2026.
Second, the way you did the Google thing is very boomer of you, and it shows your age, but it was funny. So salute to you for that, for making me laugh.
So you mean to tell me you disrespect an MC, because I consider myself an MC, like me, and when I respond to you, your leg to stand on is a hit record that you haven't had since 2005? That's what you think makes you better than me? I disagree. Oh, well, and the other thing was this. This was very funny to me, very strange to me.
Go ahead.
Because he always been a hater, man. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of like situations like this because when you know somebody's been secretly hating on you for a long time and it finally comes out and they get to say the hating ass shit that they've been saying behind closed doors and moving little weird chess pieces and shit, you get to see it come out. But what was very interesting was when he said, yo, he hasn't had a hit, right? And then in the same breath, the nigga quoted one of my biggest hits. Oh yeah, you know your girl was bucket naked. That was one of the biggest songs I had. Was killing it in the clubs, all over the radio. You know what I'm saying? Doing amazing.
Third, you are wrong. The last time 50 Cent had a hit record was not 2005. That was the last time 50 Cent had a number one hit record as a lead artist. So there's a huge difference between a hit record and a number one hit record. So let's go over the actual official definition of a hit record. Nobody's opinion of what a hit is, just the pure definition. Because with opinions, everybody can add in their little own mix to it and say how they feel about certain songs. And to some people, certain songs are hits. To some people, certain songs aren't. But let's just go over the official definition according to the music industry. So this is the official definition. A hit song is generally defined as a single that reaches the top 40 of a major music chart, such as the Billboard Hot 100 in the US or the UK singles chart. That is the official definition. So if you reach number 40 in the Billboard Hot 100, you have officially, as a definition, a hit record. And 2005 wasn't the last time 50 ever reached top 40. So Papoose, you are wrong. You're completely wrong. So your natural instinct is wrong. Let's go over when the last time 50 actually reached top 40 on the charts as a lead artist. And that was in 2012 with this song, My Life, featuring Eminem and Adam Levine. That song reached number 27 on the charts on December 2012. So the last time 50 Cent had a hit record as a lead artist on the charts was 2012. So there you go. He's wrong. It wasn't 2005. Now, the last time 50 had a hit record in the top 40 as an artist featured on someone's song was Pop Smoke's The Woo. And this song charted at number 11 in July of 2020. So the last time he was actually on a song that was a hit was in 2020. The funniest thing about all this is Papoose has never had a hit. So him talking about 50's last time he had a hit makes no sense at all. How are you going to make fun of somebody for having it? First off, being wrong and saying 2005. And then you've never had a song that ever was a hit. So how can you speak on that? And here's the funny thing. So the only time, actually, not even the last time, the only time this guy has ever touched the Billboard Hot 100, ever in his career, is with the song Crowded. And it's not even his song. It's Jenny Ortega's song featuring Papoose. And this charted at number 93 in 2006. So it didn't touch the top 40. He's never been involved in a hit record, ever. The funny thing is he mentioned his quote-unquote hit record. And this was a song he released in 2010. And this song is called Bucket Naked. He says this was the last time he had a hit and that it was all over the clubs and so on and so forth. I checked this song on YouTube just to see, what is this record? I never heard of it in my life. The song has 34,000 views on YouTube with him as a solo artist on there. The remix with Remy Ma has way more views. It's like at 200,000. So Remy Ma had to jump on this record to give you somewhat of a boost because nobody was checking for it with you solo. And then you go on streams, and this song is at 227,000 streams on Spotify. That's what Papoose, in his eyes, says is a hit record. That's the funny part about this, is he says that's a hit for him. It's 227,000 views. But 50, it's 2005 is the last time he had a hit. On 50, listen, this is the funny thing. So you go to 50's, songs that are streamed on Spotify. I went down just to see where is one of his songs at 227,000 streams. Let's just see where that's at. So I looked at a song. I was like, okay, which one has 227,000 streams or close to it? My Gun Go Off, which is the intro song to his Curtis album. That's got 246,000 streams. That's just a record on his album. It's just like a random track on his album. That's the funny part is so I guess 50's My Gun Go Off record is a hit record because if Papoose puts that Bucket Naked record as a hit, then I guess My Gun Go Off the Curtis album is a hit. What's funny is Baby by Me, the acapella with no beat on it, just 50 doing the acapella, has more streams than that record. And that's a song that was a hit in 2009. So once again, you're wrong. The years are just completely wrong. But, this is the problem with Papoose and his diss record. It doesn't have facts in it. It's just trying to clown somebody. And Vlad, unfortunately, he didn't push back on that. He should have said, listen, 50 has hits. The definition of a hit is a top 40 record. Get your opinions out of it, right? Because I could say, in my opinion, I think the last time 50 had a hit was with I'm the Man and Big Rich Town, which was in 2015, 2016. That was the last time, to me, 50 had a hit. And those songs, what I call, are sleeper hits, where as the years go on, those songs start to do better. Because I'm the Man went double platinum. Big Rich Town, I think, is gold. And those records, just as the years have gone on, have streamed and have done numbers. Like I'm the Man's at almost 400 million views on YouTube. You know, Big Rich Town is over 100 million, I believe. So those are like sleeper hits that took a while for people to kind of catch on to. But with Papoose, there is none of that. There is no sleeper hit. Bucket Naked isn't a song that when it got dropped, as the years have gone on, like if that was a hit, like a sleeper hit, as the years have gone on, that would have done better in streams and numbers. Like we probably would have saw that at 10 million, 20 million, 30 million streams, you know? For Papoose, that would have been good. But it's not even at that. It's at 227,000. So it's not a sleeper hit. It wasn't a hit when it came out. So him referencing that as a hit, but then dismissing anything that 50's ever done as hits is hilarious to me. So take opinions out of it. The definition is the top 40. That's when you have a hit record. And 50's hit that last time as a lead artist in 2012 and as a featured artist in 2020. Papoose has never hit that. Nowhere on any chart. You know, it's funny just because like Bucket Naked isn't that big of a record, man. He's like, oh, when this record was huge, like nobody knows that song. I'm telling you, Papoose, nobody knows that song outside of your little borough in New York, probably. And that's it. Like a hit is a global, massive, a top 40. That's a hit. Because top 40 means you've crushed every market, from pop to rap and hip hop to whatever radio, urban radio to whatever. You've crushed all those markets and you've broken through all those markets. That's why a top 40 is considered a hit. And Bucket Naked never did that. You never charted with that song anywhere. So if that's a hit to you, this just further proves the gap between 50 and Papoose. 50 got, listen, when 50 dropped My Life and it went to only number 27, people called that a flop for 50 because his standard is so high when it comes to hits that if Papoose hit number 27, that would be a massive hit. Bro, Papoose would have been out of here. People have been like, he got a hit record, everybody loves it, so on and so forth. But he never touched those numbers ever in his life. And here's another challenge for you, Papoose. If you can prove to me that Bucket Naked was actually a hit record and hit top 40 on any chart you can think of, besides one that you made up randomly, I want it fact proven with like a source of a radio station that actually pushed that record. One radio station, doesn't even have to be worldwide or in America or, you know, just maybe in your local borough of New York. Just prove to me that that Bucket Naked record hit a top 40 chart anywhere. And I will promote your music for a whole year for free. So this is the second challenge. The first challenge I gave you was in my previous video where I said, hey, if you can prove to me you've generated 70 million views in a month, I'll promote your music for free. We can compare numbers of who generated what in terms of views. Never accepted that challenge. I heard you saw it, but just saw your own numbers and decided not to do it. So here's the second challenge. Prove to me that Bucket Naked was a top 40 hit. Prove to me that's a hit record. Not because it's your opinion that it's a hit. I want the factual definition of a hit. Because that's what matters here. I don't care about people's opinions of what they think about things. And everybody has opinions. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. But let's look at the actual definition, the fact of what a hit is in the music industry. That's something you can't debate. So prove to me that it hit top 40. And then you got a hit record. You're right. Damn, you got a hit record in what, 2010, if that's true. 50 still had a more recent hit in 2012. So he's got more of a recent hit than you. And he's got way more, obviously. That's not even a debate on who had more hit records and stuff like that. Now, lyrically, you know, he said something about Lloyd Banks was carrying G-Unit lyrically and all this stuff. Like 50 had lyrical records, but 50's focus was on making great songs. If 50 really dedicated to lyrics like that and he wanted to be a bar for bar hard MC, he's proven it that he can do that. Just go listen to Power of the Dollar. There's a lot of verses on Get Rich or Die Trying which are fucking insane. There's a lot of on every album he has like a song where he spits that shit. But, you know, people overlook it and it is what it is. That's all an opinion, right? Of what you like bar for bar, what you think is dope. That's all opinion. Some people like Papoose's music and say, hey, I love all the bars he spits, and you got all the right to do that, man. I have no issue with you liking Papoose's music. But when you start to push lies and say the last hit 50 had was in 2005, I Googled it. Like, this is an old boomer. I Googled it. Like, no, bro, you did bad in your Googles. What did Fredro Starr say? Like, do your Googles, because your Googles were not accurate. But that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. And, you know, any interview that Papoose is doing, please do some pushback, people, because he's just going to get away with this narrative of things that just don't make no damn sense. All right, for the 400th episode, I've decided to rank my favorite rappers' albums. 50 Cent has only released 5 official albums, and I'm going to include Power of the Dollar in there because of such a low amount of albums that have come out from 50's career in terms of like studio albums that I was like, okay, let me just add that in there for extra flavor, I guess. So let's go over first the worst one. Let's go from worst to best. And this one's a pretty easy decision in terms of worst. And this wasn't that bad of an album, but I just, comparing to his other albums, it becomes last. And that is Animal Ambition. I put that at the number 6th spot. It has a lot of great tracks on there, like Chase the Paper, Irregular Heartbeat, Hold On, Pilot. Off the top of my head, I gotta like look at the track list completely, but those are like off the top of my head, automatic great songs, right? But it has like very low lows, and that's what I hate about this album. Like, there are great tracks, but the lows are really low. And this track, and this is probably one of 50 Cent's worst songs I've ever heard in my life, and that is the title track, Animal Ambition. I can't stand the song. I genuinely can't stand it. You got Hustler on there, which I love. Winner's Circle. Twisted's all right. I think it's got its own little style to it. Smoke's all right as well. Don't Worry About It is a good track. But overall, man, this album was a good album. The Funeral bonus track, I don't really like as a bonus track. And then Flip on You, I don't really care for it with Schoolboy Q. But overall, it was a good album, man. I think 50 delivered quality, a quality project. I would give this like a 7.5 out of 10. And mind you, 50 is my favorite rapper. So that's a great rating. I think that's a good album. Not a great album, but a good album. So that is 50's worst released album compared to his albums. I think in that year, it was one of the better albums that was released. But overall, compared to 50's catalog, it's his worst release. So his last released album is his worst album in my eyes. Now, this is where I flip-flop. This is where I go back and forth, and I'm like, do I like this record? Do I not? Okay, is this one better than this one? This is where I change a lot. Number 1 and number 2, I don't really change, but number 3, 4, and 5, I'll switch around often. So at this current moment, and I know people are going to feel, differently about this, and I respect it. At this current moment, I got Before I Self-Destruct at number 5. Now, this isn't solid. This is just what I'm feeling right now. Before I Self-Destruct is at number 5. And we'll talk about the other 2 albums that switch these spots. But Before I Self-Destruct is a great album. To me, it's an 8 out of 10. It is a great album. It's got high points, and its low points really ain't that bad, man. The low points are very not that bad. It's really hard for me to criticize these 50 albums because I like all of them, to be honest with you. There's some records I don't like, obviously. He doesn't have, I don't think these are classics in any stretch of the imagination, but they are great albums. So they're either 8, 9s, and that's it. If they're 10 out of 10s, they're classics, obviously. So The Invitation is pretty good. Then Days Went By is pretty good. Death to My Enemies is, there. So Disrespectful, I love. Psycho, I love. Crime Wave, I love. Stretch, I love. Strong Enough, I love. Gangsta's Delight, I love. I Got Swag, I love. Baby by Me, I love. Okay, You're Right, I love. Flight 187 as a bonus track is on the album, I love. Man's World as a bonus track, I love as well. The records that I have that are really like all right to me, Hold Me Down, I love, actually. It's a nice concept because it's talking about a gun. Get It Hot, I'm not really a fan of. Get It Hot. That record is, I'm not a fan of that record. Do You Think About Me? It's all right. It's an all right track. I'm not really the biggest fan. Then Could Have Been You with R. Kelly, I'm not really a fan of. So that's really the tracks I don't like. It's about 3 tracks on here that I'm not really a fan of. Everything else I can listen to, no problems. I fluctuate sometimes with Crime Wave, but other than that, for the most part, I like this album. It is a great album, 8 out of 10 for me. And then these next 2 albums is, like I said, where I switch, where it's from the slot of 3, 4, and 5. I will constantly be changing as the years go on. There's been, there's like modes you get into or moods where you get into where you like something more at that moment. At number 4 is Power of the Dollar. And I know people are going to be mad as fuck with me at this, but I think Power of the Dollar has and here's why I put it above Before I Self-Destruct. Before I Self-Destruct overall has better songs, but Power of the Dollar's great songs heavily outweigh Before I Self-Destruct's good songs, if that makes sense. So the peak of Power of the Dollar is way higher than Before I Self-Destruct, but the low of the Power of the Dollar is lower than Before I Self-Destruct, if that makes any sense. So going on the quote-unquote official track list, you got the hit, you got the Good Die Young. This is arguably, to me, and I had it, I think, in the top 10 of 50 Cent songs of all time. I love this song. I love the storytelling, the concept, the imagination, whatever you want to call it. I love it. You know, you got the hit, pretty good track. Corno Bodega, pretty good track. Your Life's on the Line, love that song. That Ain't Gangsta, not really a big fan of. As the World Turns, not really a big fan of. Ghetto Quran, love that. The Repercussions, love that. Money by Any Means, I'm not really a big fan of. Material Gold, not really a big fan of. Thug Love, not really a big fan of. Slow Dough, love it. That's one of my favorites off this album. And it's so like Slow Dough, Good Die Young, Ghetto Quran. These records are way higher than anything on Before I Self-Destruct when it comes to tracks. But these lows of like As the World Turns with Bun B, That Ain't Gangsta, Money by Any Means, Material Gold, Thug Love. These are very low lows, like lower than Before I Self-Destruct in terms of tracks. But these high highs are just way better. You know, you got Gun Runner, You Ain't No Gangsta, Power of the Dollar. Love the title track. Shout out to Sha. I think Sha Money was the one that produced that. It says, or You Ain't No Gangsta. That's the one Sha produced. How to Rob, obviously, and I'm a Hustler. So this album, you know, I think to a lot of people, they actually prefer this album over any 50 album. And I can see why. I get the appeal to this album. But to me, at this current moment, it is above Before I Self-Destruct. And you guys know what the next 3 albums are going to be. I got Curtis at number 3. I know people are going to be mad and they're going to say whatever they want to say. But I feel Curtis was dealt a bad hand. Because Curtis, you could argue, is one of 50's hardest albums. And I know people are like mind blown by this, right? But the gangsta tracks on this album are very, very gangsta. So gangsta that there's one track on here that had to be censored even on the dirty version of the album. That's how gangsta this album was. Don't get the singles and the records that he pushed confused and the features on this album confused. This album is a very, very, very good album. I would put it at 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I'm not even joking. And anybody who sees it differently, I think you need to really sit with these tracks because some of these fucking tracks are insane. So let's go over it. You got My Gun Go Off. My God, that beat, the hook. It's a hell of a start to an album. It's probably one of 50's best starts to an album. I love this fucking record. Then you got Man Down, which is the record I'm talking about that was censored on the dirty version because he's talking about killing police. That's how hard this album is. Then you got I'll Still Kill. Like the first 3 fucking tracks on this album are some of the hardest 50 records that he's ever made with Akon. I love this fucking record. Then you got I Get Money. Love it. You got Come and Go with Dr. Dre. Love it. You got AO Technology. Love it. This is the only track that I'm like, not really a fan of. Follow My Lead with Robin Thicke. I could care less for it. It's not a track that I really care about. Moving on up, pretty good. It's not the best 50 record, not the worst. It's right in the middle for me. Straight to the Bank, fucking love that record, man. I was just listening to the instrumental with my brother in the car. I was like, this fucking beat by Ty Fife and Dr. Dre is insane. And 50 spits his ass off on this track. And I can understand why this track is getting outstreamed more than I Get Money. The only track that's doing better on this album is AO Technology. But Straight to the Bank is the second most played song off this album. Then you go to Amusement Park. I love the Amusement Park. I don't care what people say. I love the Amusement Park. I think it was a great concept. Why it didn't perform well, blame Interscope, I think. Great record. Fully Loaded Clip, classic 50, great record. Peep Show, wasn't a fan of. Could have been a better 50 and Eminem collab, so I wasn't a fan of that record. Fire, not a fan of that record either. All of Me, love it. If I can give you all of me, shout out to Mary J. Blige, killed that record. Curtis 187, classic 50, killed that record. Touch the Sky with Tony Yayo, classic record, killed it. And Tony Yayo killed it. The bonus track, the Japanese bonus track, at least Smile I'm Leaving, which is like a record he dropped after his album got beat by Kanye, I think, or during the week of. Love it. I think it's one of 50's best records ever. It's very personal type of track. So huge fan of that as well. So there's only let me see how many tracks I don't like on this album. So you got 1, 2, 3 tracks on this album that I don't like. That's it. The rest, amazing. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me. And to me, it gets overshadowed by what happened with the sales battle. It was literally the second best selling album that year. But just because Kanye beat it, people don't look at it that way. So I love this album. I think people criticize it too much. I think people think it's not good for whatever reason that they have. Maybe they just got tired of 50, or they just, I don't know, they don't like the features. I don't know. But it was a great album, man. And as time's gone on, it's been proven to be an album that stands the test of time. It just reached 1 billion streams on Spotify. And a lot of people are probably clowning that, saying, who gives a shit that it did that? But literally, T.I. doesn't have a single album that did 1 billion streams. There's a lot of artists that have never reached 1 billion streams. I could be wrong about that T.I. thing. Let me actually make sure, because I don't want to say that, and then people are like, oh, Quake. Let's see. Never mind, I'm wrong. So Paper Trail did 1.8 billion. Sorry, I'll take that back. That's it, though. That's the only album he has. There's a lot of artists that barely get 1 billion streams. If they do, it's one album. This is 50's third album in terms of solo of his career to do over 1 billion streams. So it is an album that people have enjoyed as time has gone on. People have listened to it. They've enjoyed it. So I don't know. When people shit on this album, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But that is my third 50 Cent favorite album. And the rest of the two are pretty easy. Number 2 is The Massacre. It's damn near perfect. Let me actually go over this, of what track I don't like on The Massacre. I think there's only 1 or 2 songs I don't like on this album. I think the first one off the top of my head is the Build You Up record with Jamie Foxx. Baby, I build you up. Whatever the fuck. La la la. La 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 la. So you got In My Hood, love it. This 50, love it. I'm Supposed to Die Tonight, classic. One of my favorite 50 tracks. Piggy Bang, Gatman and Robin, all these records. Let me see. So yeah, Build You Up is the only one I don't like. And then So Amazing with Olivia as well. That's probably one of those tracks as well that maybe. But Build You Up is like 100% the one that I don't like on this album. That's it. Everything else, if that track wasn't on this album, it would be a classic to me. It would be 50's second classic album. And who knows? As the years goes on, I might end up liking this track. I got to listen to it more. I haven't really listened to it that much. Maybe I got to get in a certain mood to enjoy it. But So Amazing is something where I flip-flop on, but I like it overall. Everything else I love on this album. To me, it's a 9.5, 9.8, damn near a classic. And then number 1, I think for everybody, it would be genuinely surprising. I've never really heard a 50 list that doesn't have this as number 1. Get Rich or Die Trying. It's perfect, top to bottom. It's my favorite album of all time. There's really nothing to discuss there. Everything about it I love, from the intro to the last track. My favorite of all time. Now, in terms of what's my favorite track off that album, that also flip-flops and changes, because there's moments where I'm like, shit, high all the time. Like lyrically in the fucking verses, he's going crazy. That's one of those tracks that I love. Then I go to Bloodhound. Then I go to Like My Style. Then I go to 21 Questions. Then I go to Patiently Waiting. Then I go to Minute. Like that album, every track I love. It's 10 out of 10. It's perfect. There's no skips on here. Even the bonus tracks, You Not Like Me, Life's Online, Wanksta. Even the re-release bonus track with P.I.M.P., Snoop Dogg. All that shit, I love it. So that's my ranking in terms of 50 Cent's albums, including Power of the Dollar. So the list goes: number 6, Animal Ambition. Number 5, Before I Self-Destruct. Number 4, Power of the Dollar. Number 3, Curtis. Number 2, The Massacre. And number 1, Get Rich or Die Trying. I'm then on the next episode going to rank 50 Cent's mixtapes. And it's mainly going to be solo 50 Cent mixtapes. I'm not going to go with, the G-Unit radio stuff. I'm going to go with mainly solo mixtapes like War Angel, Forever King, The Lost Tape, 5, Murder by Numbers, whatever. Whatever mixtape he released. Solo, Kanan tape, all that stuff. But yeah, that's my ranking. Let me know what you guys think of the 50 Cent album ranking, and what's your ranking in terms of his albums. All right, let's get into the Billboard Hot 100 with Swim at number 1 debut. Number 2, Choosing Texas, Ella Langley. Number 3, Man I Need, Olivia Dean. Number 4, I Just Might, Bruno Mars. Number 5, Ordinary, Alex Warren. Number 6, Golden, Hunter X. Number 7, So Easy, Olivia Dean. Number 8, Stateside Pink Panthers, number 8. The Fate of Ophelia Taylor Swift, number 9. And Folded Kalani, number 10. Going down the list, let's see. I think DaBaby was celebrating his song climbing up the charts, so let's see where that's at. A bunch of country records. What You Saying, Lil Uzi Vert, number 34. T.I. Let Him Know, number 40. DaBaby Pop That Thing, New Peak, number 45. So that's about to be a top 40 record for him, which is great. I'm not a fan of the song. I could care less about it, but hey, big win for DaBaby. Man, not much hip hop on here, man. It's kind of crazy. Going down this list, I don't see shit hip hop. Unless there's an artist I'm not aware about. Miss Trendsetter, Lil Baby, number 84. Watching Us, Wale, number 86. Pooh Shiesty, FDO, number 95. That might climb up the charts because of the recent stuff that's happened with Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane. And then Ever Since You Left Me, Max B and French Montana, number 100. So that went down the charts this week. It's interesting. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys like this new format. Stream us, Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.